Her companion, Isla McGregor, was a London journalist and Fiona's oldest friend. She was far less convinced. "So we're really doing this," she said, looking at the looming forest. "A weekend in the mist with a local ghillie and no Wi-Fi. What could possibly go wrong?" But before Fiona could respond, the glow of a lantern appeared between the trees. Ewan Sinclair emerged, broad-shouldered, bearded, his dark eyes calm but wary. "You'll want your gear ready," he said softly. "The wind here carries the old voices," but Ewan didn't smile. He simply turned toward the valley path, the lantern swinging in his hand, and the two women followed him into the folds of Glen Varan. "This must be it," said Fiona, excitement bright in her voice. "The fold from the parish records. It's where the shepherds were trapped when the blizzards came." Ewan nodded. "Aye, some say the snow drove them mad. Others claim to have heard voices, human voices, echoing from the valley walls." Isla shone her torch at the stones. Something half buried in moss caught her eye. She pulled it free. A weathered ledger, its ink faint but still legible. "Look at this," she whispered. "A list of sheep counts. But the writing stops mid-page. The last entry's dated December 23rd, 1745. Fiona squatted beside her and brushed off dirt. In the margin, faint and shaking, someone had written, "They called to me at the dawn of the thaw." The wind rose in a sudden burst, rattling through the stones. A long, low moan drifted across the glen. Isla turned, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" They stood in silence for a long minute, the recorder humming. Then through the static, a soft voice, "Help me," Ewan stiffened. Isla gasped. Fiona's trembling hand reached for the recorder. "We're not alone," she murmured. They retreated to the forest clearing and their camp. The fire crackled weakly, casting orange light across faces. The wind had died, and now the silence had a life of its own. Fiona replayed the audio, turning the volume up. "Listen again," she said. This time the faint whisper came through clearly. "Help me. I cannot leave. The snow holds us. The valley remembers," Ewan said softly, staring into the fire. "And what you heard were echoes of what the land won't forget." Fiona scribbled notes in her journal, muttering half to herself. After 1745, there's a 60-year gap in the parish records. No shepherds, no crofts, no habitation. It's like the valley just stopped. "Maybe it should have stayed that way," Isla said, her voice shaking. "We shouldn't be here." Sleepless that night, Fiona prevailed on the others to press deeper into the valley. Lanterns flickering, they walked through a meadow where old snow clung to the ground like scars. "Those cairns," Fiona said, pointing to a cluster of mossy stones. "They mark where shepherds built barriers against the cold." Isla ran her hand across one. Beneath the moss, carved crudely, were the letters JM 1745 initials. She asked. Fiona nodded. "Likely one of the missing men." Ewan raised his lantern, his voice low. "Something moves when it's called. Don't answer it." The knocking came again, louder this time. Suddenly a gust of wind made their lanterns stutter. Isla grabbed Fiona's arm. "Let's go back," she pleaded. They ran down the hill, the noise behind them knocking sounds that became muffled booms. For one instant, Fiona could have sworn she saw a shadow cut across the ground, moving too fast to be human. She didn't say anything. None of them did. Fog obscured the glen by morning. There they found behind ferns a narrow stone tunnel, a drover's passageway from centuries past. "It's not on any map," Fiona said, shining her torch inside. "If the shepherds took refuge here, it could explain the disappearance." They went in single file. It was damp, cold, and thick with earth inside. Water dripped steadily from the ceiling. Faint scratches, long and deep, as though made by fingernails, marked the walls. Isla's voice shook. "This is not natural." Fiona's torch caught something ahead, muddy handprints and still wet. "Someone's been here." A whisper rose from the darkness. "Here, beneath the snow." Their torches flickered out for a moment. When they flared back, a figure stood 10 paces ahead. Tall, still, its face shrouded in black shadow, its form wavering as though caught between worlds. But Isla couldn't help herself. She stared directly at it and screamed. The sound boomed like thunder and the figure dissolved into mist. The walls of the tunnel shook. Rocks shifted. They ran, stumbling through the dark until the faint light of dawn appeared ahead. Ewan helped her up. "You've seen what should have been left buried. We leave, now." Fiona clutched her recorder tightly, shaking but refusing to turn it off. "We have proof," she said. "Voices, prints, the land remembers." At noon, the three had packed their equipment away and arrived at the head of the glen's track. The sun had broken through, yet air still seemed heavy, watchful. Fiona put the recorder on the dashboard, its red light blinking. "You'll share this with the archives?" Isla asked quietly. "I have to," Fiona said. "But this isn't a ghost story. It's a record of what happened here." Ewan stood apart, staring back into the valley. "My grandmother used to warn us," he said finally. "She'd say, when the snow melts, the lost will call you home." "I never believed her until now," Fiona turned to him. "You've heard them before, haven't you?" He nodded slowly. "Once, when I was a boy, late at night near the cairns. The voices called from under the earth. I left the valley the next day." Isla looked pale. "Then why bring us here?" Suddenly the recorder crackled, though none of them had touched it. A whisper clearer than before, under the snow. "Hold us." Isla clamped her hands over her ears. Fiona reached out a shaking hand and switched it off. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why speak to us tonight?" Ewan's face darkened. "Because the moon was full. That's when the valley stirs. The dead remember the living who disturbed them." Fiona gazed out onto the slopes, mist-shrouded. The glen was silent now, the wind still, and for the first time she felt it watching her. Weeks later, back in her Edinburgh apartment, Fiona sat at her desk surrounded by books, maps, and recordings. Rain tapped softly at the window. She pressed play on her recorder, expecting static. Instead, she heard that whisper that she could never forget. "Find us when the thaw comes." She turned slowly toward the window. Beyond the glass, the city lay quiet under thin snow. Yet for a fleeting moment, Fiona thought she saw a figure standing on the street below. A tall shape, unmoving, half shrouded by the drifting flakes. When she looked again, it was gone. She took her notebook up and in shaking letters wrote, "The valley responds, not abandoned." The wind outside suddenly picked up, and with it came a faint sigh, almost human. And far, far to the north, it found an echo among the hidden folds of Glen Varan.